All right, Jez, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia, we got to sit down and check out Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Yep.
So you're further into this than what I am now, which is hilarious. Obviously, because of circumstances that happened. Like I was like, hey, Jez. So full disclosure, we got the copy late last night of recording this.
Yes.
And I let Jez know, hey, we got Ratchet. Jump in.
I get a DM from you last night at like 2 a.m. with like, hey, Jez, you up? And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
And I was like, if you want to jump on and start playing, like, I'm going to bed, I'll get up early and I'll play. I'm like, yeah, cool. Wake up. So I wake up today and I'm doing my work and everything. We get started and Jez is telling me, I'm about a few worlds. I'm like, man, I'm only about an hour in.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk a little bit about our first impressions of the game. I think I played enough to kind of get a grasp of what's happening and kind of, there's obviously a lot more that happens under the guide of kind of what we can and can't talk about. Obviously, like Jez can talk about like whatever now because the embargo's up, but it's more that we won't spoil anything for you guys. We'll just keep it light.
Yeah.
But there is a caveat. We are both still under a sort of embargo, which is I can't show any footage.
Sure.
And I'm not going to risk it by even showing trailer footage. I don't want the messaging to kind of get muddled there. That like, oh, what, they're showing footage. So I don't want to kind of do that. I don't even know how IGN posted 13 minutes of gameplay when embargo states that we're not allowed to do it until Friday. Anyway,
Opposite has got his own deal.
Yeah, pretty much. So Jez, give me your first impressions of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Oh, it's just a delight.
Yeah.
It's just a gorgeous, fun, like enjoyable video game. Like a video game though. Like it is it's a celebration of Ratchet as well in a way that really caught me off guard. Just for really brief context, Ratchet and Clank was my first. Ratchet and Clank 3 was my first ever console game, bundled with my PS2. Yeah. And I have grown up on that series, and I've played all of them and beaten all of them, time and time again. I'm like a huge Ratchet and Clank fan. If you're watching the video and you look just over my shoulder, there's a little Clank pop vinyl right there, and behind him is a little Ratchet.
Nice.
This is just a outstanding Ratchet game.
Yeah.
Like the visuals are stunning. The guns are really fun. The move set, the traversal is really great too. You've got like the dash ability. Yeah, like the portals as well. Like they're really good to use in combat.
Yeah. I love it.
I don't know. It's just kind of like I don't have a single complaint so far.
No, neither do I. And that's so good because the series prior to its reboot on PlayStation 4 obviously started to kind of take a nosedive in terms of appeal. A Cracking Time was fantastic.
Yes.
But from that point forward, I felt like they kind of lost their creative trajectory was just kind of like nosediving. And they really needed to kind of step back and go, okay, we need to kind of not continue where we've been with Ratchet and revitalize it in a way. And I think if anything, Ratchet and Clank on PS4 revived that idea of going forward with this reboot series, and taking a little more serious in terms of dedicated design for the title. And it looks marvelous. Like, I think this may be might be a far stretch, but this might be PlayStation 5's best looking title thus far.
Yeah, it's harder to compare because like they're putting out titles which you can't compare like directly, right? They're putting out like games that look amazing in their own like specific ways. Like the Demon Souls remake by Bluepoint looks absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. But that's going for like its own different style. Ratchet and Clank is this obviously very cartoony, animated style, but like the amount of still like detail in the world, the technical effects that are going on, the physical effects, the particle effects, the animations, and everything in between. Like it's all like I would be pretty happily saying that I think this is the most visually stunning looking game that's on the console as well. Honestly,
what are your thoughts on the gameplay loop itself at the moment? Because you got like it's pretty much standard Ratchet and Clank,
Yeah.
from the beginning at least, from what I've played so far of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much standard Ratchet and Clank. We have a few additions that I'd say are a lot of fun, but more of the melee combat and also ranged combat in terms of artillery that you have in terms of guns and everything. What are your thoughts on some of that combat loop and gameplay loop, in terms of 3D platforming and everything else?
Yeah, like I think they've expanded it in ways that make sense for the series. They have looked at the lens of this game and go, okay, what do we need to do to make it feel like a new modern take on the game? And I think the addition of the dash is honestly such a really great thing for this game, because you just have that extra level of flexibility in combat encounters to get out of the way. But that also reflects in the way the enemies attack you as well. They are a lot faster now. They are running up on you way faster than they used to.
Yeah.
Because the game is built around this dodge mechanic. So I think it fits into that slot really, really well.
Yeah.
Similarly, there's a sprint in this game, but it's very it doesn't really do anything. You run faster, but you can't attack while you're doing it. A little bit, but not any meaningfully faster. It's very strange. Unless maybe later on we're going to get some jet boots that replaces the sprint.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Yeah. It's obvious that it's there for a reason, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Are you feeling how are you feeling with guns and jumping and all that stuff?
So my only complaint thus far is my limitation. Obviously only been an hour in, I've only got a couple of weapons to use at the moment. The gun's fine. It's it's of Ratchet of old, so it's there. And
yes.
My favorite actually to use is the grenades, the glove that you get and piff the grenades at the enemies, which is really, really cool. I'd say that my favorite thing thus far, obviously, is the way it seamlessly transitions between in-game to cinematic.
Just so good.
There were moments there I'm like, am I playing? And the way it does it though is so I've never seen a game do it that fluid before. And
there's only one I can think of.
Which one?
The opening cutscene of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
When you jump out the window and then suddenly you realize you're supposed to swing. Same studio.
That sets the archetype. So really, they've kind of set that's had a baseline there when they did that. So and Ratchet and Clank kind of they've exponentially kind of pushed that now, and really shows in A Rift Apart. And here's the thing, I love the narrative that they're going for here. Obviously, kind of keeping it, with Nefarious and all that. It's really, really cool. I like the fact that it's still funny. It's still really good. The humor is there. The repartee between Ratchet, Clank, and Nefarious is still so good. The writing is really well done. But because I've only played so much of it, I really haven't formed a complete opinion other than what I've played so far. It's really good. I would highly recommend it. I think I still will say that it's the best looking game that I've played thus far on PS5. I know that it can be argued, especially for somebody who's only played about an hour of it. But you've played, how many hours have you played now?
About 3
hours
all up. Yeah.
So you're a little further than what I am. Of those 3 hours, what are your what could you gauge of it? And I know it's going to be a little bit spoilery for me, but tell us tell me the details.
Oh, just I think there's a lot of work done into a lot of the weather effects and when a ship is landing, it's got jets that are keeping it obviously staying in the air. Those jets are sending out what feels like a lot of force, and you feel a lot of that force in the rumble of the DualSense. They do so much haptics with this game, but not to the almost too much extent that that Astrobot did, which I still loved it in that because it was a showcase. But they're really dialing it in like somewhat subtle ways. There was one moment that I specifically remember, which was Rivet and Rivet is at a table basically, and she was talking, and she like slammed her fist on the table, and there was just like a slight little bump inside the controller, and I felt it and I went like, oh fuck, that's so smart. They're so smart.
Yeah. Those DualSense haptics really do make a big difference.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And I mean, like, I hate to bring up another title during this insight, but Returnal, when they kind of like pushed it with the pitter patter of rain, and you can feel it in the haptics.
Yes. Yeah.
When I started when I started Rift Apart last night, and I like the very first thing that you do is when you say, okay, press X to title screen, it comes up with the menu, and you feel that rumble in the control. I was like, oh god, that rumble there. I'm like, oh yes, they're focusing on implementing the haptics with in game, and like this is going to be one of those titles that you can really feel it. You're going to get immersed by haptics and audio together, which is what Sony was alluding to a few years back in his PS5 presentation, his ASMR presentation, that this is going to be one of those titles that they really try and do a deep dive on.
Absolutely,
haptics and audio,
And it's great because they've had enough time to sort of build some of those frameworks and those like standards for what it can be like to have this for like any game basically. So like I'm glad that Ratchet is this far in, as opposed to like it could have been done as like the test, like Insomniac's going to do a Ratchet Clank game for the PS5 so they can test out what the PS5 is. And they've already done that for Spider-Man. So like they already have a really good idea of what it's like to develop for this console. It's great.
Yeah. We'll have more details of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart in a few weeks. I'll obviously have like our full impressions of the game once we've completed it. But once again, huge thanks to PlayStation Australia who provided the review code on that one.